All right. So welcome everybody. This is the Advanced Micro Devices case study, how a new Drupal 8 site consolidated and simplified marketing and product management. My name is Chris Urban. I am a manager with Acquia in the professional services division. And with me are three awesome people from Advanced Microsystems. Advanced Micro Devices from Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves first, please.
Sure, I'm Karen West. I lead the marketing and technology team for AMD.
I'm Peter Wood. I am a web developer. I work on Karen's team.
So Pete, by the way, he knows the product stuff right now. I'm Andy. I do development, and I know the shop stuff in and out and some of the other functionality. But Pete's like the product boss.
And I'm Chris Urban, and actually with me today also is Dean Powell. The two of us headed up the team that worked with the AMD team to build their site. So today we've got a couple different areas we want to cover. There's a lot. This has been hard at work. We're going to go through some nomenclature so you understand exactly what sort of things AMD was concerned about building, so that'll make some more sense. We'll talk about the different solutions that we investigated and pursued, how we actually got them implemented, and then talk about actual launch and the results of that launch. So I think first we start with Karen.
Sure, just quickly for a little background, hopefully most of you guys are familiar with AMD. We make microprocessors, graphics cards. We're in the top consoles. Server, we have products embedded in anything from airplanes to MRI machines to slot machines. So we're everywhere out there. Lots of products, about 1,200 SKUs across every industry and pretty much every type of customer, from a soccer mom to big companies that design their products around our products. So we knew going into this project that was one of our big challenges, just the breadth of all of these products and the complexity of the specifications, all of the customer groups we have to bring these tools and resources and data to. We knew we were really going to have to take our time and plan carefully about how we were going to construct this CMS to house and organize and serve this complex data to these complex customer groups in all of these areas in their journey. So just as we sat down with Acquia, with Chris and Dane and his team to dig into this stuff, our executive sponsor dropped a bomb on us and said, you guys need to do all that in about 4 months. And the reason for that crazy timeline was to time the launch of the newly designed site on the new technology with our new line of Ryzen processors new at that time. So there was a good reason for it, but it was kind of a crazy timeline, tough to get done. So we really had to break it down and do it in parts. So we'll talk about how we did all that and what the end result was. But just for your context, when we get to the technical stuff, so that you have an idea of what some of our key business aims and goals were, and some of the problems we were trying to solve for. Run through this very quickly. We're still working on this first item, centralizing and really finding a better way to manage our data and our content. That piece we've done. We still have some centralization to do. So in the past, we have had our primary corporate site, but then unrelated to that, a separate site for shopping, a separate site for our product specifications, and a separate site for our support and our driver downloads, a different partner portal, etc. And they haven't been connected to one another. And the result of that has been that in some cases, we've got folks entering the same content and data multiple times across disconnected sites. Sometimes even structured stuff like product data just into HTML tables. So obviously opportunity for, to improve efficiency there and to reduce risk of error. So that was a major business goal going into this. And again, we're still working on some of the consolidation pieces. Improving customer experience, obviously in any project like this. Needing to be able to keep pace with the changing expectations of our customers, We had been on a legacy platform for about 9 years. Customer expectations on what happened, what a web experience should be changed a lot in 9 years. But we weren't able to do any server-side development. So these guys did everything they could with just front-end development to flex that platform to and beyond its limits to try to meet customer expectations. But we knew with Drupal and the new technology, we could go so much farther. And then improving the content editor, developer, and admin. So this is just operational stuff. We needed to be able to enable our content editors to do more. A specific example of that was that in our old world, it took a front-end developer to change really a page layout. So a content editor could swap out content within a section of a page, but couldn't really move those blocks around. So one of our really big wins with Drupal has been, and Andy's going to speak to this more, Andy really spearheaded this, was using paragraphs for modular layouts. So he'll get into that piece. And then, again, I already mentioned it, the most life-changing thing for us so far has been able to do our own server-side development. And then, Chris, are you going to speak to the challenges? Yes.
So, like most typical operator professional services projects, the first part of any engagement involves discovery. Spend a week with your customer and hear every assumption apart. So this was pretty much where we ended up. This diagram, as Karen mentioned, this idea of having this time factor, we only had 4 months to get things done, yet got us to having this goal of 3 clicks down. The CEO basically said, I'm going to demonstrate at the product launch. We're going to go from a home page to a family of processor page and then down to a product. So that's what we need to be able to show. Which, if you're a project manager, that's joy to your ears. Here's our MVP. But it's a little more complicated than that, right? We had to figure out a way to architect all of this to be able to deliver this 3 clicks down, but we had a couple of challenges. One, it's not a straightforward like t-shirt catalog. It doesn't work like that. There is lots and lots of data that has to go with these products and the way they're arranged, the way they connect to each other. And we didn't have any designs. So this really was the design that we started with.
You're welcome.
And because it's only 4 months, normally we would do 2-week development sprints. We instead opted for 1-week sprints, which is a little crazy, but thinking about it was actually really smart because it allowed us to course privilege more quickly. Instead of having 8 iterations, we made that 17 now, so you can get a lot more stuff done, and that proved to be immensely valuable because of incomplete designs, trying to figure out how the architecture that Dean finally solved, all of that was able to happen within that kind of framework. Oh, one other little detail. The guys at AMD, they have never worked with Drupal before. Minor detail. A little bit. All right. So, Pete, you're going to talk about nomenclature?
Yes. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to run through some of the basic concepts and types of content that we were trying to capture going into this. So first of all, almost all of the pages on the site are landing pages, what we call landing pages, and we were able to do that because they are extremely flexible, and Andy's going to talk a little bit more about how those are built and how we were able to accomplish that. But aside from the landing pages, we've got our products, and products are really, at the center of everything for this site. So that's where most of the content types and the data is built around. So for product pages are in and of themselves basically a container to display a bunch of other stuff that we're capturing. So we have entities that store the specifications, which are all the different specs and properties of all of the individual product models. We have entities that store information for the shop products, which are the product records that point to actual places where you can go and purchase something. Then we have technologies, which are essentially, that's a special type of taxonomy, which I'll talk about in a minute here. But those are like a type of specification for the product. And then the support pages work very similar to how the product pages work, except they're aggregating a bunch of post-sales stuff. So things like drivers and KB articles, technical documents, and so on. Next slide. Okay, so taxonomy. We've got a bunch of different vocabularies that we're using, but there are really two that I wanted to talk about here. So for all of the product stuff that I was talking about, that's all threaded with product taxonomy. So the way we're classifying all of our products is through this one taxonomy. It's divided typically into 4 layers, so it's a hierarchy. The top layer we have the type of product, and then below that we have the product family, so that might be something like Ryzen. And then below that we've got the line, like Threadripper, and then below that the individual models that you can, which is what a product page would represent at the model level. So the other taxonomy that we're using heavily is the technology taxonomy. And this isn't so much a categorization as it is a sort of a content folder. So what we do is we take a product and then all of the different technologies that product supports gets tagged via taxonomy. And each individual technology can have different properties, like if it's featured, then it's going to get a little image and a tagline and maybe a link that goes off to a landing page that's telling us more about the technology. I think that's all I got on this one. So let's go to let's see.
Okay.
And where are we here? Is this?
This is me, buddy.
Landing page. All right.
So this is one of our old pages. This is define specifications or details on a specific product, yet it hits a page like this, okay? And we didn't have individual pages at the product level, we had them up at this is at the family level, right? So R9, and it's kind of even, yeah, it's in the family. So we were doing something like this, blocking content, this was all manual, this was all baked into the layout. There were these fields and you had to have something in there. It looked funny if they were empty. So all of this was in there. This is your technologies, this is your product features, right? And then all the specs that you're looking for behind tabs. And these individual items are in HTML tables, manually managed content. Brutal. So that's how it was before. And we were wanting to get well away from that. So you could search for a product, actually find the details on that product, not have to search behind a tab and scroll down and all this craziness.
Nobody wants to see that again, right?
And anybody want to go through that again? I'd rather not. Okay, thanks.
How you fix that? Like, how you move the tables to...
Dude, we got this. Okay. So, we decided we wanted in-page navigation because we had a ton of pages that were just to get to other pages to get down to stuff. So we wanted big, long, scrolly pages with navigation at the top so you go to a section, right? Fewer pages, navigating with them. Okay, we wanted consistent layouts because we were, if you've got like 50 different layouts, then there's going to be some inconsistencies. When they change something, you're going to have to change it 50 times. There was no components, there was nothing like that. It was all these distinct layouts, okay? The products had to be the centerpiece, so they had to be distinct things that would show up in different places, and we wanted to focus on the products because really, you got two kind of people. You got people just kind of, I'm looking for a computer, AMD's nice. What about that Xbox? It's got AMD. And you got people that are like, I want to know what this Threadripper has, how many cores, how many threads. They want the details. They want the specifics, right? We wanted to really help those people find their stuff. And we wanted to tie related content together, so we're not building this page for this product and putting all these technologies on there and stuff, and then we're building this other page for this pretty much the same as that product. It's like a little bit faster, and we're putting all those same technologies on that. Repeat that over, 10 times, all different languages, because that's brutal too. So, and we wanted the visitors to have a really good path directly to support, rather than going to the support homepage, searching for knowledge base articles, searching for drivers for a specific product. We know what's valid for that product. We know what drivers, what knowledge base articles, what problems it has, whatever. We wanted a specific link to support that goes directly there. Cool? All right. So we use workbench workflow because that was a lot like what we had before. We put things in draft, they go to review, they get approved. Nothing goes live before people see it, how it's going to look. They don't have to conceptualize, they can see it there and approve it across all the different languages. We use paragraphs because we had 50 layouts, right? We wanted a flexible system where, they could have a slider or not. They could have a 2-column thing or a 1-column thing. They could move things around. They decided this thing shouldn't be at the top, they can move it down. So we did it with paragraphs. And we wanted to dynamically generate these product pages. So they're entering these specifications, they're checking what technologies are available for it. There's drivers. You don't have to touch that page if you don't want. That page exists just because you've entered these details. If you want to add some marketing to it, you can. If it's a product that's been out for a few years, you don't have to add marketing. It's already there. The support page, already there. Next one. Yeah, dude. Product guy.
Product data. Okay, so to go into a little bit more detail about those product specifications. So our source data, we have somewhere around 1,200 different product SKUs total. And those are divided across about 10 or 11 different product types, right? And each product type is a separate set of fields that can be anywhere from 30 fields to some have 70 or 80 fields total, right? So of course, managing this manually, in some places it was dynamic before, in other places it was manual, but it was kind of, all over the place. So it was very important that we were able to just enter this once in one central location in these specifications entities and then be able to display them or query them or whatever anywhere else that we needed to display them and just be done with it. So that's what we were up against with the product data.
And you know what Pete's not saying is sometimes they say, I don't want to show this one anymore. I don't want to show this value that's not that important. Imagine digging into the front-end code because we can't do back-end development, and we're taking out the JavaScript that shows this thing, and then editing these HTML tables that are big monster beasts, and removing this value, but knowing that we can't just delete it because we might be asked to show it again, in a month or two, right? It was that kind of thing that we were dealing with that is so much easier now. Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting.
No problem.
So what was your previous system, your CMS or whatever?
We were on SharePoint 2007 for years, and then we upgraded to SharePoint 2013. And neither one we had back-end development rights. In SharePoint 2013, at least we could do search stuff, get JSON, and dynamically populate it. But it wasn't with React and stuff, we're digging into SharePoint templates and writing the front-end code for that, and it was nuts. Thanks for asking that because I wasn't going to mention it. All right, so we've got these paragraph containers that we can add to the landing page, right? And the containers are full width, 2-column, 3-column, 4-column. We got new stuff that we're doing charts, carousels, stuff like that. We've got one content paragraph you can drop in these columns, which is a component which is media, text, call to action. The cool thing is with these, they're optional. If they don't have media, you don't add your media. If it doesn't have a title, it doesn't have a title. They're not, big empty spots because there's an H2 that has no value in it like we had before. Stuff like that. And the paragraph view modes, which are cool, that apply to this one is media on the left small, media on the right small, top and bottom. And then we've got cool paragraphs that do stuff like show the shop products, show product summaries, teasers, show games. We haven't even talked about games, but we've got a game content type, and they've got, these are the games that this product works with, right? And this gives us modularity, it's responsive. We were, with all these different layouts, we're building, bespoke code to make this thing that we built responsive, and now the components we're building them responsively. It's consistent everywhere, it's clean design, and we're reusing media. And when we say these 3 columns, the cool thing about media is it can be a video or it can be an image, and that was something we had before, and it was like, well, there's a video field and an image field, and there's some kind of crazy code. If there's a video, we show that as an image, and instead we're just using media, and it works the same way for videos.
So Andy, why do we pick paragraphs? Why don't we use Panelizer?
Can we talk about that later? We got time to argue about this. I'm flowing, man. Demo! This is the home page. This bad boy is a paragraph. This is our 50-50 is what we call it. This bad boy is a paragraph. We've got, view modes. These are paragraphs, 3 of them across. This is why we use it, because we can do cool things like backgrounds for the whole thing. Set a bunch of fields. We can pop this content item in there, and it's the same everywhere. It's reusable across all of our pages. They love it. The editors love it. It's a great authoring experience for them. The designers love it because they can do things like differentiate a block of stuff like this by putting pullback. Yes?
How many paragraphs do you have in total, the variations?
Like total different paragraphs or paragraph types?
Paragraph types.
Paragraph types, one content one. I don't know exactly because we've been doing new stuff lately, like carousels and stuff. For content ones, it's 1, 2, 3. We got 4 columns, so that's 4. Those are the main ones that they're using are the number of columns that are in there. And this is the same. This media text one is the same idea.
And how do you maintaining the variation? And do you have any component library or like modular library? How are you communicating between like designers and developers and that? Is there any process which you develop?
So kind of somewhere in, I think it was maybe the last 2 weeks of the build, we actually got the full, here, this is what we're actually doing because it was such a compressed timeline. So it's in SAS, we got, specific classes for the image left, image right, the full width and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have anywhere where the editors or like designer can go and see the variations or something, or is just like a mocks?
It's kind of all built. We didn't use.
Do we have the style guide?
Yeah, we had a
We've got a
style.
style guide, but it doesn't use the paragraphs. So the style guide was built when we had like our first round of what we had. So one day when we've got the time to breathe, we need to go back there and rebuild the style guide, and I think we're going to refactor our SAS because it was really compressed. So it was kind of built as we were going, and now looking at these sessions, I'm kind of twitching about it. We kind of need to break it apart.
Remember, the original goal of the project was just to get the first 3 pages. They've gone on since then and built the rest of this out. But for that purpose, for those first 3 clicks, these 3 were like the lowest common denominator. That's all we needed to get that done.
Yeah.
When was the site launch?
It was March 3rd.
Yes.
Yep.
The same day of Zelda Breath of the Wild and our device processors.
Big day.
Huge day. This is another demo of this is a product series page. Okay, so digging down in there, the series page, we're going to do a lot of marketing around these Ryzen 7 processors are awesome. And when you convinced about that, watching a video about it, this right here is another paragraph that is showing the teaser of, I was in a little bit of a hurry, the teaser of those products, right? So you're choosing a taxonomy level and it's showing the teaser of those products that are under that. So they can, oh cool, I think these Ryzens are awesome. Oh, these are the ones you got. This is what differentiates them. Thanks for pausing. This is what differentiates them. 3.6, 3.4, 3.0, cool. They learn more. They hit the product page, the specific product page. It's like, oh, I want a Chevy. Oh, I like the Chevy Tahoe. Let's see the Chevy Tahoe. So, are you talking about the Peter game?
Yeah, I'll give you this. So the product page is where you end up to view all of the information about a specific product. So before, we had this information kind of scattered all over the place, and but now it's all on one page, and it's really easy to find and interpret. So product pages have paragraphs as well. So similar to landing pages, we can put manual content at the top, and it's flexible. But everything else is pulled in dynamically. So the first thing we've got listed on these are the shop products, and Andy's going to talk in a lot more detail about these, but this is where you can go to click through to an actual retailer to purchase something. And then we have the taxonomy for the technologies. So that's basically displaying those teaser tiles that we showed before. So any featured technologies that this product have is going to display here. And then beneath that we've got the specifications. So that's those entities that have anywhere from 30 to 75 fields. That's all displaying on this page as well. And again, this is all tied through with taxonomy, and I think on the next slide, so the product taxonomy flows through everything. It's tagged on the product pages, on specifications, on the shop products, on drivers, KB articles. It's all tagged with product taxonomy, and the technologies, those have their own taxonomy, which is in turn tagged to the specifications. So that's how, in a quick, simplified way, that's how that's all pulled onto that page. Next slide. Okay, so the specifications entities, right? So these are where we're storing all of the product data. So the information, like if it's a CPU, this is where we're storing the clock speed and the L1, L2 cache, that kind of stuff. So the product specifications, again, we've got about 10 or 11 different product types. So the way these were designed is we have a single core entity that has some of the common fields. And so that's things like the product type, the platform, the name. They all have a technologies field, so you can tag them with technologies, and they all have moderation. But then beyond that, we split them out into separate field bundles. So each product type has its own specific set of fields. So the CPU products are going to have different fields than the GPU products, and so on. Next slide. And then finally, to actually get all of this data into Drupal, we used Drupal Migrate, and what we did was we exported a bunch of data from Sharepoint into CSV files, and then we imported each one at a time. So each product type, again, is a separate field bundle, separate migration script. And this worked really well for us. So Acquia built the first two, and then it was really easy for me as someone who'd never really even touched Drupal before to go in and write the scripts for the other product types, and it's really relatively painless and quick. And got it all done. Next slide.
Andy, that's you.
Okay, shop.
Oh gosh, the shop stuff. Okay, so these are the AMD products like Pete deals with. We split this up a while ago. For some reason I got stuck with shop. It's a joke. So the entity includes some generic fields that are, who makes it, the number of retailers, how much the lowest price, highest price for some reason, and the image for this product, right? So it's common stuff. And there's a taxonomy reference for the actual AMD product, so you can tie it together and show it on a page for an AMD product. And a reference to the prices by retailer, so you can find out where Best Buy is selling it for how much and stuff like that. So that's how these are structured. And there are there's product specific stuff for the same kind of specs he has. It's a lot fewer specs, but we've also got laptops and desktops. We want to show how big their hard drives are, and there's a monitor and stuff like that. So we've got a few different specifications for that as well. All right. Daily, except for a couple days a week, we get new XML files with how much they're selling for today and where they're selling for, and if they've dropped off or not. And we need to import that every day. This process can take up to 12 hours previously on SharePoint to get it fully imported and to get it indexed. some regions we're finding, some countries, France and China for some reason, they're like 100 megabyte XMLs for like 10,000 different things in there. So huge. Drupal is chewing through it in less than an hour. I can run it on my local, get the import and see it, how many are in there and stuff like that. It was never possible before. So we need these as current as possible. In the morning, we got a person who sometimes look at them and say, oh, these aren't matching. Drupal's handling this a lot better. All right, so this is the product page. Starting page navigation for the different sections. We know those sections are going to be here. If there's no products available in the shop, they're not going to show. Me trying to, it's him trying to. Hey, there we go. These are clickable. We're using a fix here, bootstrap. Okay, this is the shop. You can see first we got gosh, I'm in such a hurry. You can see the products. We've got processors and systems available. This is grab and clear. You can see where it's available, how much. And you click directly to shop there. See the details. I think I'm going to avoid this one because it doesn't have reviews. And I'll find the Dell. It's got details there. You'll only be able to cross it out. Got some information about it. One of these has reviews, so you can actually see how people are reviewing it. I thought I had that one, but yeah, and there's the technologies. This is the one I did 2 different ones of these. And this one,
This is the one.
Okay, here's the product details that he was talking about. Memory and features. And then we added related products, which are at the same kind of level. These are the ones that are really close to these other products, So, yeah, and this is automatic. We didn't even mention it previously, guys. This is kind of a newer thing. And these are our technologies. Sometimes we want to feature them, and we've got this view page of the technologies with a couple of them featured at the top, bigger features, and the rest of them here. And loading more of them. So yeah, using the heck out of these everywhere.
So this replaces that really insane compressed HTML table and the list of links that were down at the bottom. This is way more appealing to the customer. Easier to browse and find what they want.
Yeah, and you just add a new technology, check the feature, it's in here. So translations, we've got how many languages?
10 total, including English.
10 total languages, contents across all of them. The UI was a problem before to get it translated everywhere. That's really nice.
So you have all your content is in all 10 languages?
All 10 languages. All of our content. Yeah.
What do you use? Like, you use a third-party integration to?
We've actually got third-party editing the content, and we stage in all 10 languages. So like a new product's going to launch, and you're editing the homepage for it, your product series page maybe, and you're adding some new messaging, and you've got the product pages. All of that will be staged in all 10 languages. So if anybody's familiar with the forward revision thing, we're hitting that one because we've got 10 different languages being staged. So that's the one thing that we've been dealing with lately. So yeah, and we decided with this to move from language location to just language, and that cut down to, we had a couple more languages. If we had Spain. Yeah.
Does it trickle in, or like when you launch a new page, it's instantly in 10, or does this happen?
It's so we know beforehand when the product's going to launch, right? So we know what we're going to hit, where we're going to mention it. So all of that gets staged. So all of those pages are kind of locked for publishing, right? There's a whole bunch of information that's got to go exactly at the same time.
It all just has to be built into the timelines.
Do you have an upstream content management system for this, or is this all okay?
It's all in Drupal.
Drupal all living.
So what are this is just Drupal core for the translation stuff?
We're using workflow and just translation.
Yeah, it's just the core, is it locale or language, wherever it is in Drupal 8. So there's no like third-party integrations or anything like that.
No.
Yep, all the language, it's all core.
Are you guys do any right to left language at all yet, or?
No, we don't.
Oh, no, that's right. You sure?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
We only got 3 non-Western. Yeah.
When people come in to translate this product page or any page, are they actually just going into Drupal and translating and typing it manual, or are you exporting an Excel file?
They're going in by hand. Sometimes they're moving paragraphs around, and it's not synchronous translation, it's asynchronous. So like, Japan might want things a whole, they kind of got a whole like aesthetic they go for, right? So the pages are not the same across, but the same, paragraphs on each.
And the thing is, like, so the translation happens at the node level, so the individual paragraphs, I think, get cloned when you create a translation, but then at that point, they're totally detached. Yeah. So, like, Japan, like, I remember you saying, like, I think it was Japan or China, but like to have a lot more kind of, like, concept images and things like that scattered around, and so you can have a totally different layout on that particular translation than any other translation for that page.
Except for product pages and stuff that's standardized, which continues for that. Our products available in retail, we display them based on location. We use Akamai as a CDN, and it is sending a cookie based on that geolocation, and the REST service based on that. So yeah, the authoring interface, I already included all the translations for the languages we needed, which was awesome. And as I mentioned, the translation bug, if you're not familiar with it, creating forward revisions and then publishing that in one language was by default causing an issue because there's only one allowed, default revision, and in the other languages that's not published. So, it was unpublishing pages at random in different countries, different languages. So that's something that's being worked on right now, and it's kind of highlighted. Cool.
BLT. So I think Dane should talk about this to us. He's our BLT authority.
Thanks, Dane. All right.
Mr. BLT.
This is like Battlegrounds. I've never seen this slide before, but so yeah, again, I'm Dane Collins. I was the technical architect on this, so I was responsible for the delivery of the project back in March. Since then, I've actually gone on to sort of become the co-maintainer of BLT, which I guess is why I'm qualified to talk about this. So yeah, BLT is an open source tool provided by Acquia. It stands for Build and Launch Tools. And it's a few things. It's basically a project template at its heart. And so if you think about all the things that are common to all the projects you do, we've basically taken all those things and consolidated them down to this product. And then added, like basically every time we hit a problem developing a project, we solved it and then added it to BLT so you don't have to solve it too. So it provides like behat and unit testing, built-in frameworks for those things. It provides commands that will like build, do composer install and build your SAS files and install the site. And it does that across all your environments. So locally in the cloud, on Travis CI if you have automated testing and things like that. And so the idea is that, again, we're automating a lot of these processes that tend to be very error prone. And we're also making them replicatable, if that's a word, reproducible, so that you can basically write a task once and run it anywhere. So I think that's basically BLT.
And for us, it was really handy because we didn't have to build our locals. We had no previous experience with that. So it was run a BLT command. It does 5 different things, and then only later when we get digging in deeper, do we actually have to learn what those individual steps are.
Exactly. So it's like if you're onboarding a new developer, in the old school tradition of this, it might take a week to onboard a new developer to your project because they need to set up a LAMP stack. They need to make sure it matches what's on cloud. They have to download the DB and install the site and learn all the things that are specific to your project. With BLT, what do you think? Like it takes maybe a day to onboard someone new?
We're on Windows, so it takes still about that same week,
Okay.
but it's Windows. Not dealing with BLT.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, if you're on Mac, you can onboard a developer in really a few hours to a day.
Yeah.
Because all you're doing is running 2 commands.
An hour. We can do it in an hour. So remember, I want to remind everybody because they're not taking the context out of this. They had minimal Drupal exposure and even less Git and Composer experience, I would say. So this was from scratch. This kind of shortcutted and leapfrogged the whole process. Learn Git, learn Composer, learn BLT, up and running, just convincing them to get Macs. So.
I guess we haven't convinced you yet.
I've got a Mac.
We got 3.
Oh, good. Awesome.
See, it worked.
We stole it from the design.
Yeah.
And then Lightning,
So,
right?
yeah. So Lightning is another open source product provided by Acquia, and it's basically a distribution So BLT is really focused on development practices and workflows and CI and things like that. It's very agnostic to what Drupal code you run. Lightning is the Drupal equivalent of that. So it's very opinionated about what Drupal modules you use, how they're configured. It applies a lot of core patches for you to make those experiences better. It's kind of the bleeding edge version of Drupal, but it's very well supported, very well maintained, so it's stable, even though it's not right at the leading edge of kind of what the features you can get are. So it provides things like media handling, it provides workbench and workflows like we were talking about, path auto, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and then BLT, we're not even just on Windows. We started on Windows 7, so no Windows subsystem for Linux, none of that cool stuff. It's brutal. Since then, I've been on Linux and Mac since then. Pete's on Windows 10, and we've gone through a whole bunch of different things because with BLT and a lot of it with Drupal VM and Vagrant, working on Windows was just a bad experience. So we've iterated on fixing that and being able to work a lot more. That's tough.
Thanks, Dane.
Yes, Dan.
All right, so let's talk about launching this. I think, Karen, you were going to talk about this?
Sure.
We have just a few slides left.
Yeah, let's talk about launch day. So launch day was really terrifying. It was also really good, but the terror part came in because all of our senior executives were at this big press conference. And it was kind of like launching the new site design on the new technology live with the world watching. It absolutely had to be there. So it was totally nerve-wracking, but it went really, really well. And the way that we were able to do that, as we touched on before in the short time frame, was to really focus on that MVP, roll out only with the foundational features and functions necessary for the site ongoing, and then exclusively the content that was necessary to support that product launch. Ended up being about 300, I think, landing pages, and 40 of those dynamically generated product pages across the 10 languages for that day. But we still have thousands of pages of other content, that was left behind at that point in time on the old CMS, and we could just cut off access to that. So Peter configured some brilliant rules on Akamai to allow users to ping back and forth, and they didn't know it. We did have to do some reskinning on the old site, but users were able to, of course, the main content they were interested in was all on Drupal, but if someone dug into some of that lower value stuff that not that many people were hitting anyway, if somebody did, they couldn't tell. They couldn't tell that they were going back and forth. That was really important to making our deadline. We were able to defer the bulk of the lower value content migration and some of the data migration until later, and it allowed these guys to work out some of the more complex architectural stuff that they've walked through to make sure that we really, really did this thing right. I guess I would also mention that it turned out to be a really good idea that we had our regular content editing staff, including those folks who manage the other language sites, completely up to speed on launch day, because we were actually adding and editing content throughout the launch, like throughout the live press conference, everything. Not exactly following Chris's best practices. We did not do a content freeze. We did not do a code freeze. Nature of the business. Sorry, Chris.
He's in the room going, no, please
he's like,
stop.
Don't say that out loud.
Don't do that.
But anyway, it ended up being really a good thing to have them up to speed, because that ended up just simply being necessary throughout the launch. I think we have some metrics to share. This chart represents the industry standard effect on customer satisfaction. Anytime you have a major change on a website, a major site design or a relaunch that is detectable to your end users, it goes down, and it can take 4 months for customer sat to come back up, because change is disruptive, because it looks different, because people have to look in a different place or learn a new nav structure. But actually, what we experienced was an increase in customer satisfaction, which we were surprised by. We fully expected to see the industry standard dip. So we've been really, really pleased, obviously, about that. And then a few additional details on the next slide. Chris.
Wait, go back. We got somebody taking pictures.
I'm going to post this deck on the session page, so
Yeah.
ignore that.
We also, I won't go through all this, but brand preference is up, and this data has been updated to show, I believe, the 6 months post-launch. Video plays dramatically increased in video completions. Clicks on the more info buttons, our form completions way up, and then most importantly, this 200% increase here in the shop conversion rate. That's what Andy was showing you, where we send our users to click through to e-tailers or retailers to actually buy our products, whether they be the components or the configured systems. So that was huge. I do think that timing the launch against the Ryzen processor launch, while I probably shortened all of our lives significantly, very hard on our emotional health and well-being, but I think that helped bolster these numbers a little bit, but at the same time, the really amazing presentation that we were able to bring to the world for the Ryzen processor helped increase positive sentiment for that product. So it brought a lot of real risk, but the two things really worked together, and I think that bears out in the numbers.
Awesome. All right, so Andy.
Thanks. Have y'all seen this before? It's funny, right? But it's wrong. So Drupal Hopper for us made a ton of sense. It was like, wow, this is so much better. There were a lot of concepts that were actually very similar to SharePoint. That's not a diss, that's a good thing. It was real easy. For us, the DevOps stuff was like wrapping your head around all these thousands of different interconnected dependencies and how to do this thing or that thing. Like Pete was like, what is Chokadar? You know, because it's Chokadar things coming up. That was what was just insane for us. Wrapping our heads around Git, you know, and around what BLT is actually doing. That kind of stuff was where we really found it difficult. Drupal itself, love it. All the rest of the stuff, now, great, you know, 6 months later, but at the time, it was just a lot, it caused a lot of lack of sleep and just, you know, feeling of being lost and upset. Yeah. So some lessons we learned is knowing how long your fields are before you create them. I think there were some same defaults chosen for things like title fields that, like, we don't really pay attention to. Those big long titles of products and drivers and stuff. Developing on Windows, which we've talked about, I'm sure you'll want to hear, you don't have to worry about it. Translation and workflow, those issues. And the paragraphs that we have nested, that text and image that can be from you know, 4 of them on a page to like one big one. Responsive image and that haven't played well together. It might just be that I don't know how to work it, but I'm working on that. And oh my, the Akamai thing, like the fact that at the CDN level, it's sending users to 2 different sites depending on your path and stuff was like amazing for us. You know, we didn't have to do the whole thing, which is huge. And we're now making the release of SAS Extend. A lot of the stuff was built kind of without it, but we're factoring it out. And yeah, we really, this whole thing, we wanted to use a lot more off-the-shelf parts. Before, nobody at all in the world was doing what we were doing on SharePoint, ever. Like, Bluetooth.org was the only other site that I could find that was doing a real user-facing website, right? So everything was, we were building it ourselves and kind of figuring it out as we went. Now we're relying on the community and we're building what's different, which is really good for us.
Awesome. That's it. So, a couple minutes over, we have time for questions. We have time for questions if everybody has one. Please.
Why did you choose Drupal?
We actually did spend a very long time with the choice, right? In fact, early in the game, my kid's school's website was running on Drupal, and I volunteered to take it over. And I initially said, no way, never would we do Drupal, right? We set it up with Acquia Cloud, and I was showing people, and like, no way ever. Ron at Acquia built a quick demo for us of a couple pages, using paragraphs and doing some cool stuff. And I actually came into a meeting and I said, I think this Drupal thing might work. And everybody was just like, come on, man, but digging into it, it was amazing. Just the cool stuff you could do with it, the modular pages that we could build, you know. Structured data was one of the biggest things for us because we have so much of it, and Drupal is so good at that.
Also from the business side, just the knowledge that we could become far more independent and far more flexible than with some of the proprietary options that we were looking at. Anything we would need to do, these guys are pushing code every week that we would have to go back to somebody else's professional services team or something, right? Just the independence was a huge deciding factor.
Were there any other open source CMSs you considered?
Not really. No, I mean, no.
Not in the final, like, 3.
Right, yeah. Big 3.
Other than that, why, when you said you were such a short timeline, were you just like creating your content types and letting content editors like continue to push content in while you were doing development? How are you speeding up putting content in during development?
The paragraphs took a while to actually kind of figure out exactly what we're going to do. We practiced with some of the lower value content, creating like a whole section of it and letting them play with it and then getting feedback from them on, you know, what didn't work for them or what we could change and iterating on that. So it was really good that we had those sprints going and we had them learning at the same time. The actual real content that was going live, it was kind of later in the game because it was really the content parts that we're launching on March 3rd. So that stuff didn't come in until further along in the development. But the work that we did on the other stuff really helped out.
So you weren't like migrating old content, it was like
Not
new
initially,
content?
yeah. It was new content at first, and then that let us migrate that older content in. And doing that, we were able to start with like the pieces that were built, and then when we needed to extend that or build on that, we had examples that we could follow. Like there was a comment that's like, Andy, when you need to do this, that saved me probably like a week. It was awesome. So yeah, we didn't have to migrate stuff initially, but getting that in really is helpful.
But we did that period of time that you were talking about. We took a section of the existing site that was not necessary for launch day. It wasn't going to be live on launch day, but we took a section of the existing site and we had that content management team attempt to build it in Drupal, and that was where a lot of those learnings and iterations came from. That was an important exercise to involve those people.
There was also like the low-hanging fruit, right? Remember the news release, press release pages. That's pretty. Everybody has the same format, so that was easy to slurp in via migration.
We still have sections that haven't gone live. Support is something that we're building on. There's still stuff that we're doing. The shop, we had a shop site that we would like on the product page, which is like shop now. They'd have to go to a separate site. There's still the desire to have that front page, and we don't have that yet, but we're working on that stuff.
All right, I want to be mindful of time. Thank you, everybody.